What if the movement that decides whether you stay strong and independent after 70 is not walking, not stretching, and not some complicated workout at the gym, but something as simple as standing up from a chair? Think about that for a second, because for many adults over 70, the first real warning sign of declining strength does not show up when they are out on a long walk or trying to exercise. It shows up quietly. It shows up when they try to rise from the couch and need to push hard with both hands. It shows up when they get up from the toilet and feel unsteady for a moment. It shows up when they stand from the dinner table and need a second to catch themselves before taking that first step. And that is where so many people miss what their body is trying to tell them. They assume it is just part of getting older. They shrug it off. They tell themselves they are fine. But the truth is, when standing up becomes slower, shakier, or harder than it used to be, that is often your body waving a flag and saying, "Pay attention now, not later." Because one awkward rise can turn into one unstable step. One unstable step can turn into a stumble, and one stumble can turn into a fall that changes everything. I am not saying that to frighten you. I am saying it because most people do not recognize this early warning sign until it has already started stealing their confidence, their mobility, and their sense of safety at home. The good news is this: there is one simple exercise almost every adult over 70 should be practicing daily, and it directly trains the exact muscles and movement pattern you need for real life. Not for looking fit, not for performing in a gym, for real life, for getting out of bed, for getting off the couch, for rising from the toilet, for standing up without that little moment of panic, for catching yourself when your balance is not perfect. And the strangest part is that most seniors ignore it completely because it looks too basic to matter. That is a mistake. In today's video, I am going to show you the simple exercise I wish more people over 70 did every single day, why it matters so much more than most people realize, how to do it safely at home, and how to make it easier if you feel weak right now and harder if you are ready to build real strength. And if you stay with me until the end, I am also going to show you the biggest mistake people make when doing it, because that one mistake can make the exercise far less effective without you even realizing it. If we have not met before, I am Dr. Michael Hardee, and on this channel we focus on helping you stay strong, steady, and independent as you age. If that matters to you, take a second right now to subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the next video. And if this kind of topic is important to you, leave a simple yes in the comments below. I read those comments and they help me make these videos more useful for you. Now let me ask you something. When most people think about exercise after 70, what do they usually picture? Maybe a walk around the block, maybe light dumbbells, maybe a stretch routine, maybe standing on one foot next to the kitchen counter for a few seconds. And while some of those can absolutely help, there is one movement that matters far more than people give it credit for, because it sits right at the center of independent living. Can you stand up from a chair with control, without using momentum, without collapsing back down, and without feeling like your legs are negotiating with gravity? That movement matters more than most people know, because falls do not only happen while walking. A lot of dangerous moments happen during transitions: getting up too fast, rising from the couch after sitting for a while, standing from the bed in the morning, getting up at night to use the bathroom, pushing yourself upright and taking that first step before your body is fully stable. That is where many accidents begin. And if your legs are weak, your hips are not doing their job, your core is not bracing well, or your balance takes an extra second to catch up, that simple act of standing becomes a problem. This is why the exercise we are talking about today is so important. It is the sit to stand. Not flashy, not trendy, not impressive to look at, but incredibly powerful. In fact, if I could get more adults over 70 to do just one exercise every single day, this would be near the top of the list. Why? Because the sit to stand is not just a leg exercise, it is a life exercise. It trains the exact pattern your body uses over and over again all day long. It strengthens the muscles in the front of your thighs, the back of your hips, and around your core. It improves the coordination between your brain and your lower body. It teaches control on the way up and stability on the way down. And perhaps most importantly, it helps rebuild confidence. That confidence matters, because once people stop trusting their legs, they start changing their lives around that fear. They sit longer, they move less, they avoid stairs, they avoid going out, they hesitate before standing. They start using their hands for every single rise, even when they do not absolutely need to. And over time, that fear and that avoidance create even more weakness. That is the trap. And it happens quietly, not all at once, little by little. You use your muscles a little less, so they give you a little less back. Then you trust them a little less, so you use them even less. And before long, the things that once felt automatic begin to feel uncertain. That is why this exercise matters so much. It interrupts that cycle. Before I show you exactly how to do it, I need to give you a few important safety reminders, because I want this to help you, not hurt you. If you have had a recent fall, a recent surgery, severe knee pain, severe hip pain, uncontrolled dizziness, fainting episodes, or a neurological condition that affects your balance or movement, please talk with your doctor or physical therapist before starting a new exercise routine. Use a sturdy chair that does not roll, tip, or slide. A dining chair pushed securely against a wall can work well. Avoid soft couches or low chairs in the beginning because they make the movement much harder. Wear shoes with good grip, or if you are stable and comfortable at home, you may do this barefoot on a non-slippery surface. Just do not do it in socks on a smooth floor. Have a counter, table, or another stable surface nearby if that helps you feel safer. And if anything causes sharp pain, severe discomfort, or dizziness, stop immediately. There is a difference between muscles working and your body warning you. Always listen to that difference. Now, let's get into the exercise. Start by sitting near the front half of a sturdy chair, not hanging off the edge, but not leaning all the way back either. You want your feet flat on the floor, roughly hip-width apart. Your knees should be bent naturally, and your feet should be positioned under you enough that you feel supported, not stretched out in front. Sit tall. Let your chest stay open. Now lean your upper body slightly forward, just enough to bring your weight over your feet. Then press your feet firmly into the floor and stand up. Do not jerk yourself up. Do not throw your body upward. Drive through your legs in a controlled way until you are fully standing. Once you are upright, pause for a moment. Then slowly lower yourself back down into the chair with control. That is one repetition. And I want to say that again because this is where the magic happens. Stand up with control. Pause. Then sit down with control. Do not just plop back into the chair. The lowering phase matters just as much as the standing phase, sometimes even more, because it teaches your muscles how to control your body against gravity. That control is what helps you lower yourself safely onto a toilet seat. It is what helps you sit down on the edge of the bed without collapsing. It is what helps you stay steady when you are tired. Now, if you are watching this and thinking, Dr. Michael Hardee, that sounds easy for other people, but not for me. I want you to hear this clearly. That is okay. If this feels hard, that does not mean you are failing. It means this is probably exactly what you need, and there are ways to make it safer and more manageable right from the start. If standing without using your hands feels too difficult, begin by placing your hands lightly on your thighs or on the arms of the chair for some assistance. Use just enough help to get moving, not so much that your arms do all the work. If the chair feels too low, place a firm cushion on the seat to raise your starting height. Even a few extra inches can make a big difference. If doing a full stand feels like too much, start with a partial rise. Lean forward, begin to lift your hips slightly off the seat, then lower back down. That smaller range still trains the pattern. The goal is not perfection on day one. The goal is progress. And once this starts to feel more comfortable, you can reduce the assistance little by little. Now let me tell you why this exercise is so much more important than it seems. Every time you stand up from a chair, your body has to do several things in the right order. Your feet have to ground you. Your trunk has to shift forward. Your core has to stabilize. Your hips and thighs have to produce force. Your brain has to coordinate the movement, and your balance system has to prepare you for that first second of standing. That is a lot happening in a very short amount of time. When you are younger and stronger, you barely notice it. When you are weaker, deconditioned, or hesitant, that sequence becomes clumsy. And that is when people start rocking forward several times before standing. That is when they push hard with both hands. That is when they stand and freeze before moving. That is when they feel unsteady after rising. Those are not random little quirks. Those are signs. Your body is telling you that the movement has become more demanding than it should be. Here is another important truth. Walking alone is not enough to fix this. Now, walking is wonderful. I recommend it. It is good for circulation, mood, joint mobility, and general health. But walking does not fully replace strength, and it does not specifically train the controlled act of rising from a chair. That is why I have seen people who say, "I walk every day," but they still struggle getting up from the couch, because stamina and strength are not the same thing. And after 70, if you want to stay independent, you need both. This is also why some people feel confused. They say, "Why do I get so tired standing up if I can walk through the grocery store?" Because your muscles are being asked to do something different. Standing from a chair requires you to overcome stillness. It asks your legs to produce force from a dead stop. It asks your body to lift your entire weight upward in one controlled effort. That is very different from simply continuing a walking motion once you are already moving. And that is why this simple exercise is so valuable. It targets a weak point many people do not realize they have. Now let's talk about how many repetitions to do, because this is where a lot of people either overdo it or never do enough to make a difference. If you are just starting, begin with 5 repetitions. That is it. 5. Do them slowly and with good form. If that feels manageable, do another set later in the day. If 5 is too much, start with 3. What matters most in the beginning is not the number, it is quality and consistency. A very practical routine for many adults over 70 is this. Do 5 sit-to-stands in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, and 5 in the evening. That takes only a couple of minutes at a time, but it sends your muscles and nervous system a very clear message. We still use this movement, we still need this strength, and we are not giving it up. Those short daily practice sessions add up fast, and they fit into real life. Do them before breakfast, do them before lunch, do them before dinner, or do them after brushing your teeth while the kettle is heating, or before you sit down to watch television. The easier the habit fits into your day, the more likely you are to keep doing it. And that is what wins. Not motivation, not heroic effort, consistency. Now, I told you earlier there is one big mistake people make with this exercise, and here it is. They rush it. They use momentum instead of muscle. They rock hard, throw their body forward, and pop up as quickly as possible just to get it done. That may feel easier, but it robs you of much of the benefit. Because the real value of this movement is in the controlled transfer of weight and the strength you build through the entire range. If you fling yourself up, your muscles are not learning the same lesson. And if you drop back into the chair, you miss one of the most valuable parts of the exercise. So slow it down. Let your body actually do the work. A good rhythm is this. Lean and stand smoothly. Pause for 1 or 2 seconds, then lower yourself back down over 2 or 3 seconds. That rhythm builds real control. Now let me give you a few form corrections that can change everything. If your knees feel awkward or stressed, check your feet. Make sure they are not too far forward. Bring them back slightly so you can drive through the floor. If you feel like you are tipping backward when you begin, you probably need a little more forward lean from your torso before you stand. Not a collapse, just enough to get your center of mass over your feet. If you feel everything in your lower back, open your chest, Brace your midsection gently and think about pushing the ground away with your legs rather than yanking yourself upward. If you cannot stand without both hands, that is fine for now, but try to use less help over time. Even moving from a full push to a light touch is progress, and if your chair is very low, do not be stubborn about it. Raise the seat. Success builds momentum. Struggle alone does not. Now I want to talk about something deeper, because this is where the emotional side of aging and movement really comes in. For many people over 70, it is not just the weakness that bothers them. It is what the weakness means. It is the thought that maybe they are becoming dependent. It is the thought that maybe their body is not as trustworthy as it used to be. It is that small private fear that one day they will not be able to get up on their own. That fear is real, and if you have felt it, even quietly, you are not alone. But this is exactly why I love this exercise so much, because it attacks that fear at the point where it lives. Every good repetition is a message to your brain. I can still do this. I can still build strength. My legs are still trainable. My body is still capable of change. That matters more than people realize. There is something powerful that happens when a person who has been relying on their hands for every rise suddenly stands up with less help than before. Maybe it is only a little less help. Maybe it is just one cleaner repetition. But in that moment, something shifts. It is not only physical, it is psychological. They stop seeing themselves as someone who is fading, and they start seeing themselves as someone who can improve. That shift is huge, because once people feel improvement, they move more. They walk more confidently, they avoid less, they trust their body more, and that creates even more progress. Now, if you are doing this well and it starts to feel easier after a week or two, I do not want you to stop there. I want you to progress it carefully. One way is to increase the number of repetitions. Go from 5 to 8, then from 8 to 10. Another way is to reduce assistance. If you have been pushing off your thighs, use just your fingertips. If you have been using fingertips, try crossing your arms gently over your chest. Another progression is to slow down the lowering part. Take 3 full seconds to sit back down. That can make the movement much more challenging in a very safe and controlled way. You can also add a pause just above the chair before sitting completely. Lower down, hover for a second if you can, then sit. That lights up the muscles in a different way. And if you become quite comfortable with regular sit-to-stands, one of the best progressions is simply using a slightly lower chair, but only if it feels safe and controlled. Progress does not need to be dramatic. It only needs to be honest. Now, let's talk about what kind of results people often notice first, because it is not always what they expect. Some people assume they will suddenly feel strong in a big, obvious way. Sometimes that happens, but often the first signs are more subtle. They get out of bed more easily. They rise from the toilet with less effort. They do not need to grab the table quite as hard. They recover faster after standing. They feel less hesitant taking that first step. They notice stairs feel a little less intimidating. They stand in the kitchen a bit longer without wanting to sit down. Those small changes matter, because those are the things that shape your day. And when those things get easier, life gets easier. This is also why I tell people not to wait until they feel weak enough to be scared. Do not wait for a near fall. Do not wait until getting off the couch feels like a major event. Do not wait until your family starts noticing you are struggling. Build the habit before you feel desperate for it. Because strength is much easier to maintain than it is to rebuild from the ground up after a big setback. Now I want to address another common thought people have. They say, Dr. Michael Hardee, I'm in my late 70s, or I'm over 80, or I'm in my 90s. Is it too late for me to get stronger? No, it is not too late. Your progress may not look like someone who is 45. That is not the point. The point is whether you can be stronger, steadier, and more capable than you are right now. And for many people, the answer is yes. Absolutely yes. The human body responds to being used. Muscles respond to challenge. The nervous system responds to repetition. Balance responds to practice. Confidence responds to proof. And this movement gives you all of that in one very practical package. You do not need an expensive machine. You do not need a gym membership. You do not need to get on the floor. You do not need a perfect routine. You need a chair, a little consistency, and the willingness to begin where you are. That is enough. Now, there is another reason this exercise is so valuable, and I do not want you to miss it. It exposes problems early. If getting out of a chair starts becoming surprisingly difficult, that is useful information. It tells you something has changed. Maybe your legs have gotten weaker. Maybe you are sitting more than you realize. Maybe your balance is less responsive. Maybe pain is changing how you move. Whatever the reason, the sit to stand gives you a way to notice that change early and respond to it instead of ignoring it. That makes it more than an exercise. It becomes a daily check-in, a little conversation with your body. How are we doing today? Are we moving with control? Are we improving? Do we need more support? Do we need to slow down and rebuild? That awareness is incredibly valuable, and the people who keep that awareness tend to stay ahead of problems longer. Let me also say this for those of you who are caregivers, adult children, or spouses watching for someone you love. If you notice that your parent or partner has started needing both hands every time they stand, or they rock back and forth several times before getting up, or they look unsteady right after standing, please do not dismiss that as nothing. Those are meaningful clues. Encouraging a safe, simple, daily sit-to-stand routine can be one of the most practical things you do to help them preserve independence. And if you are the one watching this for yourself, take pride in that. It takes humility and wisdom to pay attention before a crisis forces the issue. That is not weakness. That is leadership over your own health. Now, I promised you a simple daily way to use this, so here is a very effective plan. For the first week, do 5 repetitions once or twice a day using whatever level of assistance you need. For the second week, aim for 5 repetitions 3 times a day if the first week felt manageable. For the third week, either increase to 8 repetitions per set or reduce assistance slightly. From there, keep building slowly. Do not chase exhaustion. Chase steadiness. Chase cleaner reps. Chase confidence. That is how this becomes sustainable. And on the days when you feel good, those are not the days to skip it. Those are the days to reinforce it. Because the goal is not to do this only when you feel weak. The goal is to practice it until strength and stability become more automatic again. Now imagine something with me. Imagine getting up from your favorite chair and not needing that second push. Imagine standing from the toilet without wondering if your legs are going to cooperate. Imagine rising from the couch after a long evening and not feeling that heavy, shaky hesitation. Imagine being able to stand, steady yourself, and move with more confidence the first time, not the third. That is what we are really talking about here. Not just an exercise, a smoother morning, a safer bathroom trip at night, more confidence when no one else is around, less fear in the background of your day, more trust in your own body. That is why this matters, because independence is not usually lost in one dramatic moment. It often slips away through little avoided movements, little compensations, little hesitations, little losses of confidence, and it is often protected the very same way, through small, daily actions, one repetition at a time, one safe stand at a time, one habit at a time. So if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Do not underestimate the power of standing up well. If you are over 70 and you want to keep living on your terms in your own home with as much freedom and confidence as possible, this is one of the simplest daily exercises you can do to support that goal. It may not look impressive, it may not feel exciting, but it works where life actually happens, and that is what matters most. Start where you are, use the help you need, keep the movement controlled. Do a few good repetitions every day, and let the improvement build from there. Your future self will thank you for every single one. If this video helped you, let me know in the comments with the word strong. And if there is someone in your life who needs to hear this, please share this video with them. It could make a bigger difference than you realize. And if you want to keep building on this, the next thing to focus on is balance. Because strength helps you get up, but balance helps you stay steady once you are there. I have another video that walks you through simple balance drills you can do safely at home, and I recommend watching that next. I'm Dr. Michael Hardee. Thank you for spending this time with me, and more importantly, thank you for choosing not to ignore what your body is trying to tell you. That choice alone can change the direction of the years ahead. Stay safe, stay strong, and I will see you in the next video. If you want, I can now do one of two things next. I can turn this into an even more aggressive, viral YouTube version with stronger hooks, more curiosity loops, and higher retention language. Or I can create a second variation that feels warmer, more authoritative, and more medically credible for the 70-plus audience.